watching The Intersection, where faith, life, and culture meet. I am Justin.
And I am Eric. And today we are going to be discussing a book that both of us are really interested in a new thing that we're going to do every once in a while called You Should Read. Today we want to talk about a book that both of us have read.
Right. The Bible. All right, no.
No,
We're talking, no, seriously.
You should read the Bible. You should read the Bible.
No, they're writing down. Eric Targe says, don't read the Bible. Yeah, I got it. No.
No, we think you should read this book as well, called The Gospel Comes with a House Key. It's a phenomenal book by an author named Rosaria Butterfield. She is a former English professor at Syracuse University. Mm-hmm. Her story is amazing. If you have time, we encourage you to pick up that book as well. But we're not talking about that book today. It's a whole book about her conversion.
The book in question is Thoughts of an Unlikely Convert, I think.
That's it. That's the name of the book. In fact, it's at the back of this one. So it's The Secret Thoughts of an Unlikely Convert. But today we want to encourage you to read The Gospel Comes with a House Key. And I think it's probably one of the most convicting books, one of the most challenging books, and probably one of the best books. I would say top 10 books that I've read in the past few years. I loved this book because it gave me brand new categories to think out of. So
for sure,
we were talking before about this line in the book where she introduces this new concept called philoxenia.
Well, new to you and new to me. But it's not a new concept.
Correct. It's not a new. It's not brand new.
It's actually brand new. It's probably wrong, y'all.
Yeah, but it's in the Bible. This idea of philoxenia comes up over and over again in Scripture, and so I think of Romans 12:13 that says, "Contribute to the needs of the saints and seek to show hospitality." And probably the most famous verse on hospitality is Hebrews 13:10, which says, "Don't neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unaware." But that's a really interesting text because she talks about in the book how that idea of showing hospitality to strangers is actually not in the original text. And I remember being really confused by that. And so I went over to my Greek app on my phone where I can read my Greek Bible because I'm a nerd. But I went over there and it did not have the word strangers. It just said show hospitality. Because the point that Rosaria Butterfield makes is you can't show hospitality to people that you're friends with. Because the very word means love of stranger. Phila, love, xenia, stranger. And so it's impossible for me to show you philoxenia. I can show you koinonia. I can show you fellowship. We can have deeper unity there. But philoxenia is only for the stranger.
Yeah, the thing that I was struck by was as a Christian living in a Christian surrounded group of people, a lot of times people talk about hospitality.
Oh yeah.
And they talk about we should really be doing this more, and we should probably do a lot of vague platitudes about being more hospitable.
Yeah. But typically it just means more food, right?
Yeah.
It's if we want to have hospitality, then it means that we put out donuts before the service.
That's definitely hospitality that I appreciate.
Yeah, that can be hospitality. That's not to mock that. It's not to say that's a bad thing.
Right.
That it can be a way, but it's not the way. That's not hospitality in total.
Right. And there's so many wonderful, practical, boots on the ground application things where you get to kind of walk through her life, the life of her family, and the way that they live, just kind of very open to the community around them, and the innumerable small little that is a real tangible thing that I can do that somebody else is doing. Not to say that a lot of what she does comes off as that's easy to do. She seems superhuman, but it's a super good read in that there are so many wonderful things that you can take away.
Yeah, I think that's what makes this book so different, and that's why both of us were like, okay, we can agree. Yeah. People should read this, because I think whether you come from the mindset of, hey, I really like an ethereal academic, I like to know to see behind the machine of okay, what is the thought process behind this, what's the theology behind that. Like, that's in this book. But if you're like someone to say, hey, no, I really want the practical, I want to know how it works, then this is in that book. And if you're like, no, I just really like a story, like I really just want to follow through a story and see how it all connects and just see it lived out, that's in here. It's like one of those weird books that so elegantly, I mean, it's an English professor, so it shouldn't be that much of a surprise.
Right.
But she so elegantly uses all three of those methods to speak to every desire in me. Because I felt at times, as I was reading the book, I was like, yeah, but what does it look like? And then I turn the page and I'd be like, yep, that's what that looks like. And that's the mess that can come from it.
Yeah, the narrative part of it is so powerful, because I think if it was just a book on the practical stuff, it wouldn't have the impact. It would be useful, it'd be great,
Yeah.
but it is like the story, no spoilers, right? You know, but like the stuff that occurs to her and her family through this process of hospitality, then the way that impacts their own like immediate family and then the family outside, you just see all these implications of what living this radical gospel-centered hospitality looks like.
Yeah.
I'm interrupting you though. You had a quote you wanted to
Oh, no, you're fine. I was thinking of this quote because I think it kind of gets to the why it's so important. Because I mean, the Bible commands hospitality. 1 Peter 4:9 says that we are to show hospitality to one another without grumbling, and that's not like a suggestion. It's a command. 1 Peter says, listen, if you are going to follow Christ in the right way, you're going to do this. In fact, 1 Timothy 3:2 says that practicing hospitality is actually a marker of someone who's going to be a pastor or an elder. So if somebody is saying like, hey, I want to be an elder, if you're not showing hospitality, you're actually not fit to be an elder, according to the Apostle Paul. And I think that the reason that is what she gets at here. She says, hospitality is the obvious bridge that brings desperate people into a Christian home where they can both receive and give great blessing. Hospitality brings you into a daily need to have a plan for sin, yours and other people's. Our homes are not our castles. Indeed, they are not even ours. So that's different snippets from a paragraph here that I had highlighted that I really appreciated. But I think of them and it's like, oh, this is a command because it actually puts us on mission. If we're not practicing hospitality, if we're not doing philoxenia, if we're not loving the stranger, then we're actually not on mission with Jesus.
Right, and it's that quote in particular so effectively breaks down, I think, one of the biggest barriers to why we don't do so many hospitable things is that, well, I mean, we don't want to invite the riffraff into our house. Like, it's my house, I have these nice things. When my kids sleep upstairs, you know, like, I don't really feel like I can invite people that I don't know very well. Like, if you're at home with young kids, you're always thinking, well, we can invite the other families with young kids over, but not, you know, you have neighbors that are wide-ranging in age and demographic and, you know, just what they're going through, and you're placed in a specific geographic location by God to have an impact wherever you are. You got to grow where you're planted. And I think that alone, just like, hey, it's not your house, man. It's God's house. He's letting you live in it.
I mean, it's just following Jesus, right? It's following. Jesus was constantly about having dinner with strangers. He was constantly having people over his home. I'm going to open up to another quote because I just loved it. She says, Jesus dines with sinners so that he can get close enough to touch us, so that he can participate in the intimacy of table fellowship as a healer and a helper. And that's just a challenge. Are we willing to do that? And I think as I read through this, I just think, wow, this is the way to do it. If we really want to do evangelism in 2019, we've got to go about it with hospitality. So if you're a college student, it means, hey, you're inviting someone over to your dorm room, or you're saying, hey, let's go out to grab some Chipotle and I'm covering the bill. But it's saying, hey, I'm actually going to invite someone in who's a stranger to get to know them better for the sake of kingdom relationships. I love how it's a different book, but I highly recommend it as well. Another time we'll talk about it. But in Rico Tice's book, Honest Evangelism, he talks about it as crossing the pain line, because we still have a culture where, thank God, people are willing to come to church if you invite them occasionally. If you say, like, yeah, not everyone, but if you say, like, hey, would you come to church with me? They're, for the most part, they'd be like, yeah, or they'll come up with a good reason not to. But when it comes to inviting someone over for dinner, for the most part, everyone's like, oh yeah, sure, I'd love to have a meal. And I mean, that's just how Jesus did it.
Right.
I just love that.
So we could probably talk for another couple of hours on this, but we're going to cut it there so we don't bore you. But we do strongly recommend The Gospel Comes with a House Key, Rosaria Butterfield. Also, the audiobook version is super cool because she sings quite a bit.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard the audio. I've only read the hard copy.
Yeah, they come from a Reformed tradition, so they only sing psalms, and so like she just throws some in there. It's a nice touch.
That's
nice
cool.
Touch.
Hey, I want to leave you with this last quote from the book. Can I do that? One
course.
last quote, because I know that some people out there are probably thinking, yeah, hospitality is good for him, and it's good for Justin and Eric, it's good for Rosaria Butterfield, but it's not so good for me. It doesn't match my personality. I love what she says here, though. She says, knowing your personality and your sensitivities does not excuse you from ministry. It means that you need to prepare for it differently than others might. And what I love about this book is I think it really does help you to do that. So whether you're someone who's an introvert or an extrovert, whether you burn water, it doesn't matter. I'm not sure if that's even possible. But like, hey, hospitality is a command in Scripture, and all of us can prepare for that. All of us can be obedient to what Christ is asking us to do there. So again, we both encourage you, read The Gospel Comes with a House Key. It's a phenomenal book, and I really think it will change your life.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Thanks for watching The Intersection. If you liked this video, please subscribe and turn on notifications below.
If you didn't like it, leave an angry comment in the comment section that, gets really ad hominem in its attacks. Yeah.
Don't do that, please.
Thanks.
See ya.